Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. Today, I'd like to talk about hybrid Toastmasters meetings and our transition into a physical space. A hybrid meeting is a meeting that incorporates both online and in-person components. While a virtual meeting can cause the same performance anxiety and butterflies in your stomach, a vivacious live audience is a whole different beast. The goal of a hybrid meeting is to help encourage our members' educational goals while maintaining the many successes of our online format. Today, I'd like to talk about hybrid meetings and Mountain View Toastmasters, some pieces of information that you can use to evaluate your own risk tolerance, and finally, ways that you can help make our meetings successful in the future. So about a month ago, I sent out a survey to the club to ask how comfortable is the club with going back into the Mountain View Community Center. About half of our members, 19, responded to the survey. 15 members said they would be comfortable going into the community center on the 15th. And with that information, I got the approval of the officer group to send in an application for the fall term in the Mountain View Community Center. We have a permit now for the community center, the Maple Room, and with no other conditions aside, we'll be starting an in-person component to our meeting starting October 4th until the end of the year. Some of you may be asking, is it too early to go back to the community center? I'd like to point you to 3 sources of information that you can use to evaluate your own risk tolerance. Risk tolerance in these trying times is very personal. There is an entire spectrum of people who believe that vaccinations don't work, to people who avoid any social contact until everything is in the clear. It's a spectrum, and your decisions should be based on information that is available from publicly available sources. So the first I'd like to point you towards is the Santa Clara County Public Health Dashboard. There are two statistics that I'd like to point out in particular. The first is the vaccination status in the county. Out of eligible people in the county who can receive a vaccine, ages 12 and up, 80% of people are fully vaccinated. That means 2 vaccinations of Pfizer and Moderna, 1 dose of Johnson & Johnson, and through the entire phase where the vaccine reaches full efficacy. The second statistic that I'd like to point you towards is the vaccination the case rates, and the case rates broken up by vaccination status. July 4th, unfortunately, brought an increase in cases, but if you look at the vaccination, if you look at cases by unvaccinated versus vaccinated cases, you'll see that there's a staggering difference between the two. And that's because vaccines work. Vaccines prevent serious complications from COVID, such as hospitalization and death. And the CDC has statistics to show that vaccines reduce the case rate by 25-fold. So if you aren't vaccinated, I highly suggest getting vaccinated. Some other sources of information that might be useful for you. One is the Santa Clara Unified School District. The school district is committed to bringing students back into the classroom. There's a qualitative difference between learning online and in the classroom. And the school district has decided to bring students back into the classroom. So some of you may have known that the class is in session now. The last piece of information that I'd like to present to you is what some of the large companies in the area are doing. Google is the largest employer in Mountain View by far. They're planning on going back into the office sometime in early October. Plans may change, plans may not, but they are planning on going back into. And so while the community center is allowing us to go in, I believe that we can go in and have meetings in person without introducing excess risk to ourselves. So how can you help make our meetings successful? I'd say the primary way that you can do this is to continue participating in Mountain View Toastmaster meetings. So meeting after meeting, guest after guest, we've gotten feedback that our meetings are smooth, that we run like clockwork. And the reason that happens is because everyone comes together to participate and to foster an environment where people can grow and learn to become better public speakers. So no matter where you are, how you feel about in-person meetings, you can continue to make our meetings successful. But if you do want to take a step into the community center, I am looking for people to help make that a smooth transition. In particular, there are logistics that need to be thought of. There's going to be a TV screen. There are going to be webcams. There is going to be a laptop. And the logistical flow of the meetings are going to need to have some planning ahead of time in order to make the meetings run smoothly. What do we do when there's evaluations from an in-person audience giving evaluations to an online speaker? What do we do when we have an in-person timer and we need to show an online speaker the time? These are things that can be thought through ahead of time. And it would be very helpful to have multiple perspectives on this problem. And finally, it would be useful to have a core set of people that I can trust in to relieve the enormous burden that is the transition into the community center. So if you're game, reach out. So with the pandemic in our rear view mirror, not that far in the distance, vaccines have afforded us a present that would have been unimaginable a year ago. I hope a plan and strategy for hybrid meetings and some experience executing on hybrid meetings will lay a solid foundation for our club's future. And maybe in the future, you'll be on a stage in a spotlight, emceeing a large event, or giving a toast to a crowd. After all, there's more to public speaking than meets the computer screen. Thank you.